Chapter 9. Victor postpones the wedding. The being finished speaking and looked at me, expecting a reply, but I was bewildered, confused, and unable to understand the full extent of his request. He continued, "You must create a female for me. This you alone can do, and I demand it of you as a right. You must not refuse." The last part of his story had increased the anger that had died away while he spoke of his peaceful life among the cottagers. I could no longer control my rage. "I do refuse it," I replied. "No torture shall ever make me consent. Shall I create another like you? Together your wickedness could destroy the world. Begone, I have answered you. The answer is no." "You are wrong," replied the fiend. "I will tell you why. I am evil because I am miserable. Am I not hated by everyone? Even you who created me would be glad to tear me to pieces. You would not call it murder to kill me, the work of your own hands. If I cannot inspire love, I will cause fear. I consider you my archenemy, because you are my creator. To you I swear undying hatred. I will do my best to destroy you. I will not finish until I ruin your happiness completely, so that you shall curse the hour of your birth." His anger controlled his face, but finally he calmed himself and went on. "I wanted to reason with you. If any human being were kind to me, I would return the kindness 1,000 times. For that one person's sake, I would make peace with all of humankind. But I know that nobody will ever be kind to me. What I ask of you is reasonable. I demand a creature of another sex, but as hideous as myself. It is true that we both shall be monsters, cut off from all the world, but that will make us more attached to each other. Our lives will not be happy, but they will be harmless. Oh, my Creator, make me happy. Let me feel gratitude toward you. Do not deny this request." I was moved. I shuddered when I thought what might happen if I did this, but I understood his request. His story showed that he had feelings. Did I not, as his maker, owe him whatever happiness I could grant? He continued speaking. "If you consent, neither you nor any other human being will ever see us again. We will go to the vast wilds of South America. We will sleep outdoors and eat acorns and berries. We will be at peace and we will bother nobody. I now see compassion in your eyes. Let me seize this moment and persuade you to promise what I so strongly desire. You say you will live in the wild, where the beasts of the field will be your only companions. How can you, who long for the love of humanity, promise this? You will return, and you will again seek human kindness. You will again meet rejection, and your evil passions will be renewed. Then you will have a companion to aid you in the task of destruction. This may not be. Stop talking about it, for I cannot do it. I swear that this will not happen. My life will pass in peace, and in my dying moments I shall not curse my Maker." His words had a strange effect on me. I began to think that I had no right to keep him from the happiness that was yet in my power to give. "You swear," I said, "to be harmless. How can I trust you? If I have no ties and no affections, I will only feel hatred. If, on the other hand, I have love and affection, I will become one with the chain of existence from which I am now excluded. I would have no reason to harm anyone." I thought about what he said. His power and threats were a part of what I thought about. He could do a lot of damage if I refused his request. I said, "I will do what you ask if you promise to leave Europe forever. You must also leave every other place where people live as soon as I shall give you a female who will go with you into exile." "I swear," he cried, "that if you grant my request, you shall never see me again. Go to your home and begin your work. I shall watch you. When you are almost finished, I shall appear." Saying this, he suddenly left, fearful, perhaps, that I would change my mind. I saw him descend the mountain faster than the flight of an eagle. His story had taken the whole day. The sun was setting when he left. It took me a long time to descend the mountain. It was morning before I got to Chamonix. I didn't stay there, but returned immediately to Geneva. My family was alarmed at my wild appearance, but I answered no questions. Yet I loved them deeply. To save them from the monster, I decided to get started on my terrible task right away. Still, I could not begin. Weeks passed. I spent whole days on the lake alone in a little boat, thinking about how to proceed. I had heard of some scientific discoveries in England that might help, but I did not want to go there. One day, my father said, "You seem so unhappy. For some time, I could not figure out the reason, but yesterday an idea struck me. You know that I have always looked forward to your marriage with our dear Elizabeth. You have been attached to each other since childhood. You appear entirely suited to each other, but perhaps she seems more like a sister than a wife. Perhaps you have even met someone else you would rather marry, but feel that you are bound in honor to Elizabeth. Maybe this is why you are in such misery." My dear father, believe me when I say that I love Elizabeth deeply. My only hope for future happiness lies in our marriage. "I am glad to hear that, Victor," said my father. "But the gloom that seems to have taken hold of your mind has me worried. Tell me, therefore, if you object to getting married right away. But do not think that a delay on your part would cause me any serious problems. All I want is your happiness. I need to hear from you what you want to do." I thought about what my father said. Alas, the idea of an immediate marriage was one of horror and dismay. I was bound by a promise that I had not yet fulfilled and dared not break. If I broke my promise, what miseries would come to my family? Could I marry with this deadly weight yet hanging around my neck? I must do what I had promised and let the monster depart with his mate. Only then could Elizabeth and I be married. I told my father, therefore, that I needed to visit England. I did not tell him why. He was glad to find that I was able to take pleasure in the idea of such a trip. He hoped that the change of scene would do me some good. The length of my stay was left to my own choice. A few months or at most a year was the period we agreed on. Without asking me, however, he and Elizabeth arranged that Clerval should go with me. At first I was upset that I would not be alone, but then I was glad to have the company. Clerval might even stand between me and my enemy. If I were alone, wouldn't the creature force his hatred presence on me? To England, therefore, I went. It was understood that I would marry Elizabeth as soon as I returned. I knew that my family would be safe from the creature, for he had told me he would be watching me. I left Geneva toward the end of September. During the entire journey, all I could think of was the work I had to do when I got to England. Clerval met me along the way. How great was the contrast between us! He was alive to every new scene, joyful at the beauty of the setting sun and happy when he saw it rise. I, on the other hand, was a miserable wretch haunted by a curse that shut up every avenue to enjoyment. The countryside through which we traveled was beautiful, but I couldn't enjoy it. Clerval, beloved friend, even now it delights me to remember how you enjoyed the beauty of nature as we traveled. Where does he exist now? Is this gentle and lovely being lost forever? Does his mind exist now only in my memory? No, it is not so. Your body may be decayed, but your spirit still visits and consoles your unhappy friend. Pardon this gush of sorrow. These words are but a slight tribute to the worth of Clerval. I will continue my story. We traveled through Holland, and from there we went by sea to England. It was on a clear morning in the later days of December that I first saw the white cliffs of Britain. Finally, we saw the numerous steeples of London.